But for the 4 finalists, it has been a tense evening. They've been waiting patiently with smiles on their faces, but I can imagine the anxiety and the tension building. But bear with me for about 5 minutes, or maybe 10. This is a moment of congratulation, celebration, and reflection. So I'll combine all three by first congratulating and celebrating all the sponsors who have made this competition possible. You have invested in literature, you have invested in celebrating writing, and you have invested in Epigram Books. You are onto a good thing, you know that. You should continue supporting this cause, the cause of literature, the cause of Epigram Books, and the cause of competitions like this, because although there's more to literature than competitions and winning prizes, art and culture are an important part of life, as much or even more significant than all the other things to which we deploy a lot of time and energy. And the fact that you have shown a spirit of generosity and commitment to literature is to be applauded. So 2 cheers to all the sponsors of this competition. The second thing to celebrate, reflect upon, and congratulate is Epigram Books. Not just Edmund, above all Edmund, but all the wonderful team at Epigram Books, which makes such a wonderful enterprise of this all. I've visited their offices only twice, but what I've come back with each time, apart from the absolutely fabulous gourmet lunches that Edmund concocts, is the spirit of camaraderie, jollity, commitment, passion, and conviction. And without that, literature is not possible. Publishing books is a not very productive or lucrative activity. To keep your faith in doing it year after year requires passion, commitment, a love of writing, and a care for something that makes for something lasting. So congratulations, and let us celebrate Epigram Books. Now for a little bit of reflection before I come to the 4 finalists and how amazing their work is. Reflect upon the fact that we are here in the first month of 2020. I don't know how many of you are aware of how young and recent the tradition of writing in English is in Southeast Asia and in Singapore, and therefore when we participate in an event like this, we are part of the foundation of a tradition which we hope will outlive us all and our children and our grandchildren. The first full book dedicated to creative writing in poetry was published in Singapore in 1950. Wang Gungwu, still alive. The first novel, I suppose, although you could debate about this, a first full-length English novel in English was published in 1972. Now reflect how recent that is. And I say this because the British were in this part of the world in the last 2 decades of the 18th century. As Edmund pointed out earlier, English is, for better or worse, and often for worse, a global language. It has killed more aboriginal languages than any other conqueror. And yet, we all speak in it, we think in it, we sometimes fantasize in it, and we often abuse in it. It's an all-purpose language. And the point to reflect upon here is that you have a competition in which Epigram Books and all of you sponsors have taken the lead. This is the 5th year, as Edmund reminded us, of this competition, and already he has expanded the scope from English creative writing and original novels from Singapore to original novels in English from Southeast Asia. The ambition is to be applauded, celebrated, and reflected upon, because writing is a hard task. Writing is not a romantic activity. It is not perspiration and inspiration. It is toil, it is determination, it is uncertainty, it is frustration, and it is failure. For every one book that sells, there must be 100 or 1,000 that are rubbish. And even the best of writers can be gnawed away, eaten away with anxiety about whether they are going to write another book, whether what they write is worth reading. So when we celebrate and award those who write, it is understandable that what we do is going to contribute to a tradition which is going to go stronger, because nothing brings Southeast Asia together as much as the English language. ASEAN is a political fiction. Trade relations change, but the English language has been around for a long time, and in it, whatever our other first, second, third languages, we are able to fantasize, to dream, to narrate, to historicize, to remember. Now let me celebrate these 4 novelists, and as I was saying to them earlier before we met, a competition is a very subjective business. One man's poison is another man's food. De gustibus non est disputandum, they say, who know Latin, and I don't. The larger point is, judging is not an easy business, although it's easier than writing. And it isn't always the case that we have agreement and consensus. So if there is someone who's today going to get a first prize, someone who's going to get a second, third, fourth, nevertheless, none of you should forget the fact, especially not the 4 of you who are finalists, that you are all winners. Yes, the check that you get will be different. But don't let the check delude you to the larger point. You have won recognition. This is cause for you to feel more confident in your gift, in your capacity to write more, and to be aware that when there are disagreements between judges, that is a good, robust thing. This is the 2nd year in a row that I've had the privilege to be a judge, and it is a privilege, because what it shows is that young people are turning to writing in English, creating novels of great fascination, of lasting significance, and this is a wonderful activity, and to be part of it, even if you are just here for the dinner and the auction, is wonderful. So congratulations to the 4 finalists. We celebrate you, and now you may have the end of the suspense when Edmund finally announces who are the winners. Thank you.